Now on BBC Radio 4, the afternoon reading and more summer ghosts, this time in an urban landscape as we encounter The Queen of Craigelee by Louise Welsh.
Ailsa Buchanan jogged across the wasteland toward the last Craigelee high-rise, her camera case jolting against her hip, arms straining from the effort of keeping her tripod from striking the ground. She'd photographed the demolition of its companions, but it was still strange to see the remaining block of flats, standing alone, and strangely dignified, where there had been 3 boldly planted on the landscape, looking as permanent and impervious to the elements as standing stones left by the ancients. The wind whipped a spray of gravel against her face. Ailsa closed her eyes, still running. When she opened them, she was in the high-rise's shadow. Her mobile vibrated. She glanced at the number. Unknown. Miss Buchanan. She could see the man ahead of her, a small figure silhouetted in the lee of the entrance, phone held to his ear. I'm almost there. The silhouette looked up. I'd slow down if I were you. It's a long climb. Ailsa killed the call, too irritated with her lateness and the unwanted chaperone to slow her pace. I hope you're no planning on taking the stairs at that speed. Sam Stewart was dressed in a grey suit that managed to suggest both top man and old man, and it took Ailsa a moment to realise he was much younger than his voice had suggested. Sorry, I'm late. Sam shrugged. It makes no odds to me. Friday afternoons I'm in O'Neill's by 5:30 and away with the fairies by 6. Fair enough. Ailsa gave him her best smile, but Sam had taken an electric screwdriver from his rucksack and set to unfastening the steel panel ceiling off the entrance. When it was free, he took out a bunch of keys and unlocked the door beneath. Inside there was a smell of damp and mice, cut through with the sharp scent of urine. It smells like something died. Ailsa put a hand to her nose. Hundreds must have over the years. Sam took a torch from his pocket and shone it around the lobby. Graffiti was scrawled across the walls, names and insults, gang slogans, and declarations of love. A cartoon of 3 tower blocks toppling to the ground took up most of one wall. A female skeleton danced atop the final building, her long hair flying around her skull, eyes crazy, a crown perched on her head. Ailsa took out her camera and lined up a shot. The other buildings weren't graffitied like this. They were by the end. Sam walked toward the stairway. Why do you think they're sealed so tight? If they weren't, folk could pull them apart with their bare hands. Ailsa caught him up. Not everyone was unhappy living here. She paused to take a photograph of a spray-painted naked woman sprawled across the stairwell. The nude had eyes for nipples and teeth where no teeth should be. An arrow identified her as the Craigelee Queen. Plenty of high-rises left if you fancy putting your name down. I'm not saying that. Ailsa glanced back at the Craigelee Queen and saw both sets of eyes following their progress. But people lived their lives here and died in their beds or on the stairwell with a needle in their arm and a knife in their back. They were barely at the first landing, but Sam was already out of breath. He puffed on an inhaler and then pushed open the door to the first floor landing. Ailsa sprinted to his side. I thought we could go to the top and work our way down. Start on the 30th floor. Dream on. The first apartment looked like it had been painted with the dregs of other decorating jobs. Lilac, pistachio and aqua, clashed across the small sitting room cum kitchen. Ailsa set her camera on the tripod. I don't understand why I can only have one day when it's 7 weeks till demolition. You were lucky to get that. Sam opened a kitchen cabinet. Clean as a pin. Whole building due to be turned into rubble, and this tenant gave it a good scrub before they left. He watched Ailsa take her photo. Would you know I'd been better doing this when people were still here? I did that with the other blocks. This part's about recording what's left behind. Hee-haw, if this is anything to go by. I don't mean stuff. Places retain remnants of the people who lived there. That's what I want to capture. Ailsa snapped her tripod closed. You ready? But Sam was staring at the vinyl flooring in the tiny kitchenette. Look at this. The Craigelee Queen was carved into a pattern of ochre swirls. She grinned, exposing sharpened teeth as she raised the bottle to her mouth. Somewhere in the building above, a door slammed. Their eyes met, and Ailsa said, It'll be an open window letting a draft in. Aye. Sam checked the signal on his mobile and grimaced. That or the Craigelee Queen getting ready to party. Both laughed, but stayed close as they climbed to the next level. Ailsa would have liked to document the entire building, but time limited her to one flat per landing. But the results were everything she'd hoped for. Emptied of furniture and tenants, the rooms, identical in size and shape, remained distinct. Ailsa felt she could almost glimpse the people who'd lived in them. Sam regarded the apartments with a surveyor's eye, taking puffs of his inhaler as he recited the high-rise's deficiencies. So are people being rehoused somewhere better? Ailsa asked, after a scathing review of the 11th floor. Some. Sam looked across Craigelee to the spires of the city centre and the mountains beyond. But beggars canna be choosers. Some will go into flats as bad as these. Others will throw themselves on the mercy of private landlords. 150 single occupancies from this block walked away. No request for new housing. How do you know they were okay? I'll look around. Sam traced the outline of the Craigelee Queen etched into a windowpane. Do you see them anywhere? Outside, the sun was blazing, but the wind was getting up. As they climbed, Ailsa felt the high-rise shift in response. Air blustered through the corridors, sweeping across the images of the Craigelee Queen that covered the walls now. You've got to hand it to the CQ. That's some body of work. She's outdone Banksy. These weren't done by a single tagger. Ailsa paused, taking in the images. These styles are different. This is the work of a lot of people. A mouse trotted across the lounge of the next apartment, and Sam watched it disappear into the skirting and shook his head. The mice on the 25th floor. Do you think it took the lift? No. Ailsa focused her lens, capturing an expanse of melamine flooring and concrete walls. How would mice reach the buttons? She snapped her tripod closed, ready to move on. Then a girl stood in the doorway, her long black hair tangled about her face. She raised her head and met Ailsa's eyes. Ailsa gasped. What? Sam crossed the room in 3 quick strides. The girl was gone. There was someone here, a woman. Nah. Are you sure? I'm sure as you're here. Well, I wish I wasn't. He took out his phone and cursed. These buildings should have been demolished years ago. Because you can't get a signal. Sam wiped a hand across the wall and held it up, showing Ailsa the sheen of wet on his palm. Because they weren't fit to live in. Exhibit that in your gallery. She looked strange. What kind of strange? Ailsa tried to summon up the image of the girl framed in the doorway. Pale and thin. Too thin. Insubstantial. A junkie. Sam dried his hands on his trousers. Shall I force the entrance? We've got to go down and secure it. No, it's 4 o'clock. The door could be lying wide open. This place will be like the dawn of the living dead, full of junkies and alkies. Please. Ailsa met his eyes. I'll buy you a drink when we get down. Sam looked away. I should call the police. Call them at 5. You tell anyone and I'm in big trouble. Ailsa zipped her fingers across her mouth. OK. He scanned the lobby. Let's get a move on. There was an urgency to the task now. Ailsa wished she'd forced Sam to start at the top, and that they were now making their way to the ground. Had the girl bolted for the exit, or was she upstairs? Sam grew sullen. Instead of cataloguing the building's faults, he loitered at each apartment's front door. They were on the 27th floor when they heard the bass beat thumping from above. That's where she came from. It's a pop-up party, a rave. Sam swore, looked at his watch. Sorry, Ailsa, I'm calling time. But Ailsa ignored him, running to the 28th floor, and then the 29th. The 30th floor of Craigielee's last high-rise was heaving. A slender boy in a white shell suit put an arm round her. His smile was so wide and so gentle, she thought he must be tripping. But then she saw the faces of the others. The old couples dancing at double speed, mothers twirling children on their hips, the teenagers burling. And in the centre, the girl, her eyes bright, her hair wild. She took Ailsa's hand and drew her into the company, just as Sam arrived at her shoulder, puffing on his inhaler. Come away. But the Queen pulled him into a kiss, and after that, he said no more. Ailsa thought they might have been there an hour, when a flash of sunlight drew her to the window. She saw the crowds massed beyond the barriers, their faces raised toward the building. She looked back across the room to where Sam was dancing. He was as thin and pale as the Queen herself. How long till demolition? And he held up 7 fingers. Lucky number 7, whispered the pale as smoke old gentleman she was waltzing with. The music hit a beat, and they all jumped together.
Tracey Wiles was reading The Queen of Craigelee by Louise Welsh. The producer was Duncan Minshall. Tomorrow in Summer Ghosts, a creaking and a squeaking. That's at the same time here on BBC Radio 4.